Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. As you can probably tell from my voice, I am Australian and I have a little bit of a cold, so I apologize if that makes it difficult to understand me. And yeah, I'm really sorry that I didn't manage to make it in person. I ran over a bad LA pothole on my way back from LA to the
Ooh,
Bay Area. So for those of you who've ever encountered that problem, not fun. Many people will remember me, I hope, from my previous startup, Hum. I was the CEO and co-founder of that startup, along with a couple of other people. Hum, unfortunately, didn't make it through the COVID pandemic. Long story short, not only did we have a lot of delays caused by the COVID pandemic and an experienced team, we also discovered that I think it was a little bit early for the commercialization of that particular type of neurostimulation, the closed loop frontal TACS stuff that we were doing. It was just very difficult to make it into a device that was as ambitious as the device we were intending to make, which was very simple and easy to use, as well as very strong in its effect. We did seem to have an effect, but we wanted to take a little bit longer to go back to the science and see if we can decrease the variability person to person and increase the overall effect while also figuring out how to make the device. So that's a project that I still am passionate about, an area of the neurotechnology and neuroscience space that I'm passionate about and will continue to develop in the future in my life. But in the meantime, I've joined another team, and that team built the device that I am currently wearing. You may have thought it's headphones, but it's not. It's a neurostimulation device. Behind my ears, I have two little electrodes attached to my head, which are just, the same sticky electrodes as a TENS device. This is a device that we're putting into the FDA 510(k) process as a cranial electrotherapy stimulation device, CES device, for the treatment of anxiety. And I'd love to tell you a little bit about our approach today. This team that I've joined have been developing this for about 2.5 years, since the beginning of 2020, and I've joined them this year to help them bring that to the public. I'm just going to present my screen and start telling you a little bit about it. Okay, here we go. So pictured in front of you is a much better looking person than myself wearing the device, and as you can see, it just sticks behind the ears. It's a CES device doing something very similar to Predicate's Alpha Stim, and is, in our version, very, very simple to use, very attractive and discreet looking. We are proposing this as a treatment that you can use at home and at the workplace, and looking into its sale to both individuals and to workplaces themselves as a solution for burnout. I don't think I'll labor this point because I think everyone already knows the COVID pandemic and the aftermath of the COVID pandemic have been terrible for anxiety. Anxiety is actually at its highest levels among young people that it's ever been at, including during the COVID pandemic. And young people in the workplace are more burned out than ever. So there's an urgent solution that needs to come up to those people. The co-founders of this company that I've joined, myself the first to join them, and I have all had the same experience. During the course of commercializing my last startup, and my co-founders in the neuroscience and in Google's hardware teams all burned out really badly and had terrible anxiety, and so decided to find a solution that we could work on to help both ourselves and other people with that problem, and that's how we ended up creating Roga. The chief scientist of this company is Dr. Alison Smith, who was former an adjunct professor at University of Waterloo and heads our science team and regulatory team. And our CEO was one of the lead project managers and product managers for the Google hardware home devices and Pixel phones. So a great experienced team. All of us during the course of our own burnout experiences tried all of the wellness solutions. And as many will know, many of them are not backed by science. Some of them are and do seem to have some effect. Things like meditation, of course, have a long-standing understanding of benefit, but can be a band-aid and can't be a full solution. Particularly, we noticed that these things weren't solutions to the physiological problem so much as the mental side of the anxiety problem. And so they needed additional support on top of them. Of course, we've tried in that journey, our personal journeys and many journeys of people dealing with these problems, the medical solutions, but we're probably all very familiar with some of the limitations and barriers to entry to get that help. And sometimes the side effects that come along with some of these things are greater causes of stress and anxiety than the anxiety or stress that you might have had before you tried them. So we decided to follow up the great work of many people previously working on cranial electrotherapy stimulation products and neuroscience, but make the device significantly cheaper and more attractive and discreet as well, making it a consumer product in design that was making it accessible to a younger target market, and just potentially more of a larger market in general, because many people don't want to use a medical device, quote unquote. So we built it as a phone accessory in a way where it's very cheap. We sell this device for anywhere between $180 and $260 once we get the medical approval. And we are also looking at selling it to businesses as a corporate benefit that will allow people to deal with the anxiety and burnout that they're dealing with at work. Many will be familiar with how cranial electrotherapy stimulation works. This slide drastically simplifies it. We think that the efficacy is substantially proven. The NHS have adopted it this year in the UK as one of the standards of care for the treatment of clinical anxiety alongside cognitive behavioral therapy and medication of various kinds. We are basically just giving people a tool to dampen the fight or flight reflex alongside an app that we provide, that we've programmed with content, hundreds of video and audio sessions tailored to suit their individual symptoms and experience of anxiety. And that goes from very simple sound scapes that just allow people to sit and be still while they're using the device, all the way to very specific, tailored, guided meditation and coaching psychotherapy content, all of which has been written by an experienced team that we've got on board, from psychotherapists to workplace coaching experts. In the longer term, we aim to be able to provide people very tailored recommendations to how to deal with their anxiety on an individual basis. And we do intend this to come along and don't recommend anyone does anything like discontinue medication or therapy as well. This is my last slide, so I'll be open for questions immediately after this. But basically, as you can see, we've tried to make this device very convenient for people to carry it into a pouch, following along from my experience at Hum, where I learned that people really needed to be able to use this whenever and wherever they wanted without having substantial setup time and difficult maintenance. This device doesn't even have a battery in it, just plugs into your phone. So it's very convenient. We found in our beta testing that about 73% of people after 4 months with 60-person starting cohort were still using it every day. So that means that we're pretty confident that it's been made easy enough to use. And you can also see that it's quite elegant and discreet, particularly compared to previous versions of CES. So yeah, thanks for listening to me talk a little bit about Roga. I'm very amenable to questions and looking forward to answering some.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have questions for Ian? Anyone on Zoom who has a question for Ian? Anyone in the room with a question for Ian? Ian, do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience with Hum and any relationship between the previous product at Hum and Roga?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it is a fundamentally different product. We are a medical device, whereas Hum was pursuing a consumer approach to start off with. But it's an interesting story of how I met the co-founders, Ellison and Ami. I actually met Ami at the 2019 Neurotech Leaders Forum.
Okay.
So, you know, that's one of the benefits of this conference.
The last one before the pandemic. Yes, we remember that.
And at the time, I had just raised the seed round for Hum and was very confident in commercializing that product. And was impressed by the idea of the co-founder, Ami, about making a phone accessory that was really easy to use. And we had a shared mind in that way about how neurotechnology products that are non-invasive for home use need to be incredibly simple, easy to use, and affordable. And so that was a shared understanding from day one. I didn't contribute anything there, but I joined at the beginning of this year and have really pushed for lots more user testing and making sure that everything in there, both the app and the way that the device is used, are grounded in like user reality. That was something that I did at Hum. We spent about 4 years doing user testing. And I think having seen the being able to stand on the shoulders of giants with people like Think and Halo come before us, I have brought up to the team a lot of like rational skepticism that I think is necessary to make sure consumer neurotech products and now the medical device that we're pursuing are easy enough to use. We are planning to commercialize additional stimulation mechanisms in future, looking at additional indications. Obviously, anxiety is a very big problem, and there's plenty of work to do just here. But some of the commercial and intellectual property work that I did at Harm is on the roadmap for Roga, but for the moment, very much just focused on this simple CES product that we're putting through the FDA.
Great. Okay, I think we have Dan DiLorenzo. You have a question. Do you want to pose it to Ian?
Sure. I was going to say, excellent talk and very interesting venture. I was curious, and you may not have had the time to go into this depth, but I was curious, what is the physiological mechanism of anxiety being treated with this? And has it been objectively shown to be efficacious with quantitative metrics of affect?
Yeah, if I were to give a very honest answer about what is the mechanism, I would say that we don't fully understand it. I have had many conversations with different people in the industry about this, and we do think we have an idea of how it works. We think it causes an increase in serotonin and a boost in alpha brainwave amplitude. We can tell, though, that in clinical trials that have, particularly within the last 10 years, substantiated the benefit, which is typically measured by a GAD-7, a GAD-9, and a ZUNG, which are the clinical standard trial questionnaire mechanisms, basically, for measuring the symptoms of anxiety, depression. We can see that there's a substantial benefit. It's something like 60% within 6 weeks decrease in the symptoms of anxiety, according to those tests. But we're not able to tie it back to a neat mechanism just yet. And I think that's some of the work that we're excited to do at Roga. We're running 2 clinical trials in the next 6 months, or starting 2 clinical trials in the next 6 months, where we'll be doing 64-channel EEG, heart rate variability measurement, and other things as well, to try and start tying it back directly to the mechanism. But I believe that work will continue for the next 10 years.
Okay, great. Thank you.